Hi, welcome to Inclusive Gathering Birmingham. If you're completely confused by what I just said, we've been known up until this week as New Inclusive Church. So last week I made a little announcement about our name change, and if you'd like to read a little bit more about what the heck we're thinking changing our name right now, there's an article on our blog that you can have a look at. Inclusive Gathering is a diverse community of people that are united by this crazy, wild idea that the way of Jesus is about radical inclusion and pursuing that with our lives. And what that means is we think that community, true spiritual community, can be formed by defining who is in rather than who is out, and forming community that way. So whether you are gay or straight, whether your gender identity is non-binary or cisgender, whatever race or ethnicity you're from, whether you're neurodiverse, neurotypical, whether you're a person with disability or who doesn't have a disability, then you are very welcome and you are very much invited to be a real part of church with no boundaries. So another part of this idea of radical inclusion is that difference is good, and that includes difference in our growth and our understanding of what it means to follow God, to know God. So we want to be a place where questions and doubt are really, really welcome, because they actually are what helps us to grow as people and as followers of Jesus. So we want to invite you to be really open about wherever you're at right now. It's a really crazy time for lots of us. Lots of us are struggling. So we're creating lots of different environments where people can feel free to talk and have real conversations with each other without feeling like you need to fear being judged by anyone for whatever's going on right now. So welcome. If you have never joined us in real life, in person, well, this is real life, but if you've never joined us in person, typical at our gatherings, we like to have it be a really comfortable atmosphere where people can feel free to get up, wander around, grab a piece of cake, do a little bit of coloring or creative activity. Of course, we can't provide cake today, but please feel free to get up, grab a snack and a drink. We also have, there's a link on our blog and on the Facebook event, and I'll probably post it right now, for a creative activity that you can download and do while we're chatting today. So feel free to engage in whatever way you want. If you're joining us live, then there might be some questions and some ideas that you can feel free to share on the Facebook Live comments for others to see as well. I'm going to hand over to Ali and Ellie to lead us in some songs.
come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ.
In difficult times, Christians often turn to prayer. In Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians, he says, "Always be joyful, never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you, who belong to Jesus Christ." John Wesley, the person who founded the Methodist Church, said this: "Whether we think of or speak to God, whether we act or suffer for him, all is prayer. When we have no other object than his love and the desire of pleasing him. Prayer continues in the desire of the heart, though the understanding be employed on outward things. In souls filled with love, the desire to please God is a continual prayer. And so we pray together." These words were written by Father Richard Hendrick, who is a Franciscan. They wrote last week and talk about the difficulties of being in lockdown. And so I invite you to close your eyes, maybe let these words sink in as a prayer of hope. Let us pray. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and grey and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sound of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number through the neighbourhood so that elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbours in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray, as we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen behind the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clear, spring is coming, and we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing. And in a moment of quiet, let us bring before God those things that we struggle with, those things that at this time are causing us distress, the people, the situations, the places where we need to know that God is there. We lift all of these things to you, O God. May your love surround those who struggle. May your strength guide those who are vulnerable. And may we, in all that we do, and especially in these difficult times, may we pray and may we sing in joy. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Amen.
Hi again. I'm not sure I introduced myself before. My name is Danielle Wilson, and I'm the pastor leader of Inclusive Gathering Birmingham. As part of our regular worship gathering when we meet, we like to ask what we call a question for sharing and give people a minute to be able to talk to the people around them about just a really simple question. So obviously we can't do that in the same way today, but we want to invite you to think about this question that I'm going to ask and comment in the Facebook comments. We're also having Pete share his answer to this question in a moment, so that gives you some time to think about your answer. So the question is there something you've done this week that has been particularly life-giving to you? So that might be taking a stroll in the park. It might be choosing to give something away that you know someone else needed. It might be checking in on your neighbor, or just having a good chat on Zoom with friends. So share, what is it that has been most life-giving to you this week?
Hi there, I'm Pete, part of the Inclusive Gathering Birmingham team, and yeah, just great that we can use technology to be able to meet in a cyber way, and I hope that you are doing okay where you are. But in answer to that question for me, is there something that you have done this week that has been particularly life-giving to you? And it is great that I can use my dog to be able to go out for a walk. It's a normal, regular thing that we have to do anyway. And on great sunny days like today that are recording this, that's yeah, to be able to get out and have my one session of exercise a day with the dog is fantastic. I have a dog who's full of life and loves to get out and take us for a walk. But also, one of the things that really kind of made me smile on the inside this week was happened while I've been working. I'm trying to maintain some kind of normality in that I'm coming into work in the morning, which makes me get up out of bed. I try to make sure that I'm here for 9 o'clock so that I can maintain a regular kind of routine as best as I can. So my morning hours, I'm trying to do that. But I have a member of staff who's 20 years old who works for me 2 days a week currently. And she was very concerned the other day that and wanted to know when do you want me back to work? The answer at this moment is I have absolutely no idea. Hopefully, at the very best, we're looking at just after Easter. We're probably, if I'm honest, going to be end of April, maybe. But who knows? We have absolutely no idea. They're real uncertain times that we live in. And it could be something that concerns us. It could be concerning to you. But let's try to look at the positive things. But one of the things that she asked when I told her it could be end of April or longer was, well, is the business going to be okay for that length of time? My honest answer is it depends how long it takes. Yes, we are good for the time being. Yes, we are great. And I can only thank God that he has put us in this place that we are able to deal with this at this moment. And alongside that, with the government support that has been promised, we're good for quite a while. But it's those encouraging moments when someone actually shows concern. Someone actually says, you know what, don't actually say I am concerned, but they show it in what they say and what they do. And perhaps you've not maybe felt that this way. I encourage you this week to show your concern for somebody else. Let's be people who are proactive and get out there and get in touch with people who we may not have not regularly spoke to. And let's check on each other and make sure that we're okay. It might just be a simple text, but it could be that one contact point that someone's not had in that day, particularly for single people or others. But yeah, let's see people we can make others smile on the inside. Send them a funny cartoon picture or something. But yeah, let's just encourage one another at this time.
my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine.
Hey, so my name's Rachel, and for those that don't know me, I work in public health. So normally what that means is I sit in an office in local government and we make plans about things that affect people's health, usually kind of long-term things like climate change and air pollution. But it just turns out that coronavirus is also a public health emergency, and so the last 3 to 4 weeks of my life have been entirely related to kind of figuring out a local response to the pandemic. And I guess it's kind of a chance to tell you about it. Some of the things that are hard, some of the things that are good, and maybe some things that you could be praying about. So yeah, pretty much I would say that the response roughly splits into 2 key areas. There's everything that we're trying to do to support the NHS and social care specifically. So thinking about what they need. Some significant challenges there around not having enough tests to be able to do testing on staff. So it means that as soon as somebody's got vague symptoms, they have to not be at work. So loads of people are having to stay away from their jobs without even knowing if it's definitely related to coronavirus or not. And that's kind of a national issue that's been really difficult, and I think it's also been difficult for us making sure we get access to enough protective gear, so people that are on the front line and are kind of seeing patients every day that have definitely tested or might be positive for the virus. And again, that's a kind of a national challenge, and it's, I suppose with all these things, what it shows you is that the system doesn't work very well together. There are huge gaps between NHS, social care, primary care, national bodies that are supposed to be coordinating. And so I think it's just seeing how that plays out at speed when things are changing constantly. So yeah, that's been tough. But I think one of the good things has been how much people want to work together, and just seeing that and seeing people come together in a way they never have before across all those different systems, I think is really powerful. And I think it kind of sets the scene for many of our other challenges too. And then the other thing that we focus on, of course, is just general public and us, and how can we help. So how can we volunteer? How can we stay sane while we're stuck in our houses? How can we make sure that we're actually not going out and visiting our vulnerable relatives? Is that message out? And are people feeling like they've got what they need to be able to stick to that? So yeah, I've been working a bit more on that side of things, and again, it's been quite frustrating. So for me personally, I think what's been difficult is having to coordinate lots of different things, but just from a laptop. So I found myself getting really stressed out with people. I think I'm a system person. I like thinking about problems and trying to fix them, and so it's really difficult for me to switch off. I find that my brain's just thinking about this all the time. And and it's really frustrating that a lot of the things that I can do are actually very small things, and I would love to be able to do big things and fix everything, but I can't. But I think what's powerful about realizing that is that we are actually all in the same boat. So actually, for all of us, it is about the small things that we can do for ourselves and people that we care about, or neighbours. And so I think I'm really learning a lot about that, about letting go more, trusting more, and valuing those small things just each day. And so I guess for me, really, if you could pray that I'd be able to keep trusting, keep my heart open, and I guess for the system as well, that where everyone is frustrated, everyone is overwhelmed and a bit confused, just like you and me, that actually that kind of, those small things and acts of kindness are what we all need. So yeah, just alongside miracles of provision of protective equipment for the NHS, I think it's those simple things. And I just wanted to read this. People always read this chapter and these verses from Philippians 4, but I just think it's really amazing to look at them now. So Philippians 4 verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. Again I will say rejoice. Let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Amen.
Hi, I'm Adam. Over the last few of our gatherings, we've been looking at Jesus' first big public speech, which is often called Sermon on the Mount. This next section of that speech, Julie is going to be talking to us a little bit about today. It's taken from Matthew's Gospel, which is one of the 4 life stories written in the Bible about Jesus. When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in the synagogues where everyone can see them. I tell you the truth, that is all the reward they will ever get. But when you pray, go away by yourself, shut the door behind you, and pray to your Father in private. Then your Father, who sees everything, will reward you. When you pray, don't babble on and on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again. Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask him.
Hi, my name's Julia, and I'm going to talk to you about a few things that I've been doing and thinking about. A couple of weeks ago, I had the great privilege to go away for a weekend with an organisation called Left. This is something I've been part of for quite a long time now. Left used to stand for Lesbians Exploring Faith Together, but now we've renamed it. So Left, the L stands for LBTQI+. Okay, I'm still getting used to it, but I'm sure I'll get there in the end. Anyway, one of the great gifts for me of being gay is that I had to find new communities. And one of those communities that has been really important to me has been Left. So it was with great pleasure that we set off for our weekend at Holland House, which is a retreat house near Pershore. Every time we're there, we spend time talking, praying, but really getting real with people. When I say praying, the main thing that we have is our public prayer, which is the liturgy on Sunday. The thing that I really like about it is that what we do is take perhaps the topic that we've been thinking about over the weekend and divide it up, and we all bring different elements to it and put it together. It sounds like it could be a bit of a mishmash and a hotchpotch, but actually year after year, it has turned out, whenever I've been there, to be a really meaningful service. I have read in the past that liturgy means kind of works of service originally. So work of the people or work for the people, both meanings are embedded in there. And for me, one of the beauties of something like New Inclusive Church is the way that so many of us are allowed to input into the services. And even if you're not one of the people at the front, which usually I'm not, there are different ways that you can contribute. You know, whether you're choosing to stand or sit when you're singing, you're worshipping, whether you're choosing to sit and listen or to go off and involve yourself in crafts or even get a cup of tea and kind of relax and talk to people. All of those are vital parts of our getting together and communicating with God and with each other. So when I read in this passage, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in synagogues where everybody can hear them, I don't think that means that we shouldn't be gathering together. I think it's a bit like Danielle was saying last week. What is being criticised here is people who are being hypocritical. So not really being not really saying what they mean. So in the same way, I think Danielle said last time, it's really about what's in your heart that matters. And I think that's exactly the point that has been made here. During our weekend, we looked at a book called Queer Virtue. The subtitle of this is What LGBTQ People Know About Life and Love and How It Can Revitalise Christianity. I don't know about it revitalising the whole of Christianity, although I'm massively impressed with what I've seen of Elizabeth Edman, the author, Reverend Elizabeth Edman, who wrote Queer Virtue. I haven't seen her in real life, and I know some of you probably will have done, but what she has got are lots of videos up on YouTube. So if you go to on YouTube, and if you go to queervirtue.com, there are a set of videos there that we had a look at. The topics that we particularly looked at were identity, risk, touch, adoption, and scandal. I was starting to say that, you know, the title of the book is about revitalising Christianity. Well, in the first place, that weekend revitalised me. So there was a lot there to think about, to talk about. And one of the important things that she talks about is being real. So that's being real about our identity, and therefore being real when we talk to each other, as we did at the weekend, and therefore, I believe, being real when we talk to God, whether that's in the context of the liturgy that we put together afterwards, or whether it is about us going privately, going away, shutting the door behind us and praying to God in private. Reverend Elizabeth Edman plays with the word queer a little bit in this book. So she talks both about queer as being the kind of LGBTQI, etc. Word to kind of embrace everybody, so that you're not having this list of letters that you're trying to remember. And I'm in different groups where we use different letters because we're catering for different needs. But the other way she uses queer, which I really like, I don't know whether she's the first person or whether other people have done it as well, but I think she's done it a lot, is to talk about queering, so challenging, and challenging especially binary thinking, whether it's black and white, gay or straight, Christian and whatever other group you want to put alongside that or in opposition to that. Basically, helping us to think, you know, we've been, all of us, I'm sure, in different situations, certainly people who are gay, and I'm sure, well, certainly women, and I'm sure loads of other groups come to mind. I'm sure many of us, if not all of us, have all been in the position of other. And therefore, one of the things that we don't want to do is to put other people in that position of being other. I think the second part of the reading that we had talks about don't babble on when like the Gentiles do. Sometimes I've listened to sermons where it seems to be a bit about, you know, our tradition is right and other people don't pray as the Bible tells them to or whatever. And I'd never really noticed until I'd looked here that actually it talks about the Gentiles. And I wondered whether he's even talking about prayer at this point when Jesus is talking. Maybe he's talking about people that worry incessantly about something and, you know, haven't got the ability to come to God, haven't got, the ability is the wrong word, but don't believe that they can come to God and bring their worries and concerns and maybe, you know, things that they're grateful for and all the rest of it to God. But as Christians, and many other faiths will say the same, we do believe that we can come to God as we are. Where it says, go away by yourself, shut the door and pray to your Father in private, sometimes I've taken that to be a bit of an instruction that you've got to go off on your own and make sure you have times of prayer. But again, thinking about it this time, it struck me that actually that's like an incredible invitation to us all. That we don't have to go to special places on weekends away or even church services at any time we want to. Even if we're absolutely on our own, we can go away, shut the door and pray to God in private. And God, who sees everything, will reward us, whatever that means. I have this little thing, for want of a better word, that when I pray, I notice the sun coming out more. And I also think I get more wow moments. Whether I just notice those after I've been praying, I don't know, but it seems to work for me. So anyway, what I was wanting to say, I think, is that what an incredible privilege that each one of us, each and every single one of us is special and liked and loved, and God hears us. And so that makes it so it's such a privilege that you can't quite get your head around it, or at least I can't. You know, one of the other things that Elizabeth Edmond talks about in her book is wanting to challenge the powers that that run churches. Not in a way of sort of like wanting to go and attack them or challenge them in one way, but just wanting to kind of do that democratization of being able to share maybe what God has done for each one of us, all of those who are other in some sort of way, whether it's gay or whether it's any sort of calamity that you may have faced that other people won't all have faced. It's incredibly useful to come together as with people that have shared your experiences, but also you are then uniquely equipped to help others who perhaps are in the same circumstances, or others who perhaps are in different circumstances, but although you don't know exactly their situation, you haven't been in exactly their situation, you might have been in something where you felt very similarly. And whether or not you might have good advice, but if nothing else, you have been in a similar place and can then empathize with them. There were 5 videos that we looked at, and I think I've mentioned identity, risk, touch, adoption, and scandal. But the one that the thing that I really want to say as I finish this is, again, straight from Elizabeth Edmonds, where she says, God made us each sacred. He made us each complex, and he did it for a reason. So, when you go to pray, know who you are, be who you are, and be the person that God created you to be. I would say, I said that in the context of prayer, but actually that's true for life, with your relationships, and with prayer. So just once again, know who you are, be who you are, and be the person that God created you to be. Thank you very much. We're now going to take a couple of minutes to think and reflect, maybe something about your prayer life, or you could take the chance to perhaps create or make something, to do something physically.
So thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to continue the thinking and the conversations that we've started here, we're going to move over at 5:15 to Zoom. There's a bunch of links in a blog post the link will be posted up now, where you can choose to opt into one of our community groups. There's 5 or 6 of them. So if you're in a regular community group, you can choose your own group. If you've never done that before, you can opt into any of the links that are here. We think that's a really good way for us to just stay connected with one another and ask some really simple questions about things like, how are you doing? What's been good this week? What's been hard? And then there's a chance to kind of reflect on a question or two that's come out of some of what's been shared today. So please do join in with that if you'd like to. Other than that, we've also got a Pray and Connect group on Facebook that you can feel free to check in with anytime you like in the week, share a prayer request, share how you're doing, ask a question. And on Wednesdays at 7:30 we have a prayer gathering on Zoom. Again, the link is on Facebook and on our website if you'd like to join in with that. Anybody can join. There's also, next Sunday we're doing something a little bit different. We were scheduled to have a Palm Sunday prayer walk with Birmingham City Centre churches together, and obviously we can't do that in the same way now, but we're going to put some resources up online for you to still do a prayer walk wherever you are. So keep an eye out for that on Facebook or on our website. And then we'll also see you at 4 p.m. Next week on Facebook Live for this again. So all that's left is for me to give our normal blessing that we finish each gathering with, which is, may we live fully, love wastefully, and have the courage to be all that God has created us to be. We'll see you soon.